If history has proven anything, it's that nothing good comes to racists, and Jose Torres and Kayla Norton had to learn that the hard way. In Douglas County, Georgia, a racist couple stand tearful in court trying to tug on the heartstrings of jurors when they had terrorized a child's birthday party a short while prior. In 2015, a white supremacist group called Respect the Flag started terrorizing Douglas County, driving around in trucks and waving the Confederate flag. They must have missed the memo that the Civil War was over and that they had lost, because when they couldn't find someone their age to mess with, they turned to a child's birthday party, where they started shouting out racist slurs and waving a shotgun. In just a few minutes, Torres and Norton joined an elite club of human filth, as they not only discriminated against black people, but also endangered children whilst doing it. Ironically, they thought crying in court could somehow make any of this better, especially with Kayla Norton denying this.
That is not me. That is not me. That's not him. I would never walk up to you and say those words to you, and I'm so sorry that happened to you.
We're not sure what kind of person Kayla believes she is, but we'll go with the victim on this one.
You stayed, and you stayed affected my life. And it affected my children's lives.
This little act of violence landed Torres and Norton a combined sentence of 19 years, and their archaic ideology also got them an ancient punishment of being exiled from Douglas County. Now, the internet has a lot of downsides, but exposing racists is not one of them. This is what happened to Amber Rocco, who got caught red-handed, or more accurately, red-mouthed, being a racist on video.
Yeah, you are. It's called self-defense, you stupid. Who you calling in? You, you're racist as.
In McMinnville, Oregon, Rocco was having a parking dispute with a black couple when all of a sudden she goes into full racist mode, shouting out the N-word and even pulling a knife. Rocco's dirty laundry extended far beyond this, apparently, as she was caught 4 times racially abusing people, including her own neighbor, Barbara Helderman Kinney, who got maced by Rocco for simply asking what Rocco was doing as she was shoveling snow. Helderman Kinney had this to say. She said, pepper spray, you know, the B word. And she said, if you don't, go back to Mexico. When Rocco was arrested, she tried the denial card that rarely works, and even gave this sob story about how she isn't a racist and comes from a mixed family. Pretty sure that's a joke these days.
I'm hoping for the best because it really got blown out of proportion. I got called a racist when I'm not a racist.
Outside the courtroom, Rocco even tried to paint herself as the victim and act as if she really regretted her decisions, but it seemed like she really just regretted being caught.
I do 100% from the bottom of my heart regret saying that word. I've never in my life used that word.
Because of her extremely racist Karen-like behavior, Rocco was sentenced to 30 days of jail time, where she'll have plenty of time to realize being white and blonde isn't as superior as she thinks. A Karen wouldn't be a Karen without a public freakout, and none are crazier than Latasha Williams, who had a breakdown in a Nevada courtroom, needing 4 officers to restrain her. Williams was in court for child endangerment and first-degree kidnapping, and in her mental health hearing, she decides to make it so much worse for herself. What started out as a boring argument regarding her scheduling quickly turned into a wrestling match.
Yes, you are.
Let me go. I got kids and responsibilities. Come on. Fuck y'all. Let me go. Let me.
Williams was extremely stubborn for a woman who puts her children in danger, and then suddenly remembers that she has kids and responsibilities, which is terrifying given her first-degree kidnapping charges. When officers tried to take Williams into custody, she lashed out like a bull in a china shop, and several officers inside the courtroom tried to restrain her, which got to almost comedic levels of them trying to handle her. But for one cop, this was nothing funny, as he got injured with a cut on his face. After over 3 minutes of yelling, shouting slurs, and resisting, Williams was finally taken back into custody and sentenced to jail. Maybe she'll learn a lesson about raising her voice in a public area again. Speaking of public freakouts, some are just straight up embarrassing. Like Kerry Waterman, who was so ridiculous she made a judge throw an insult.
I feel so attacked right now. I don't know what to do.
It all started in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, when the band The Black Keys were coming to town. However, while the Keys had their fans, one religious group was strictly against them, calling them satanic. In what's probably the biggest religious fight in Chagrin Falls since the Crusades, Kerry Waterman, the leader of the group, started protesting and striking with her group in the street to get a meeting with the town hall. She eventually got what she wanted, but that meeting quickly turned cartoonishly ridiculous. Waterman was recording her reactions in court, crying and claiming she was attacked.
I'm just so attacked. Help! He's the gavel. He's
The judge almost had a breakdown himself as he kept shouting for order, but Waterman was just losing her mind. Ironically, it was like Waterman herself was possessed by Satan, causing the judge to call her a ham sandwich.
Somebody get this ham sandwich out of my court.
Judges are human too, though, and they can't help themselves directing an attack at a defendant, like what happened with Donna Cosell, who had the gall to laugh in court in the face of a victim's family. In Detroit, Michigan, Cosell's daughter, Amanda, was in court for the drunk drive killing of father of five, Jerome Zerker, when all of a sudden, Donna started laughing and mocking Zerker's family. With the extreme disrespect, this sent the judge into a frenzy, yelling and calling her a clown as she kicked her out of the courtroom.
I mean, the entire time that Mr. Zerker's sister was speaking, that clown, and that's what I'm going to call him, a clown, was sitting there smiling and laughing. Yeah, you can go too, because if you don't know how to act, you can go to jail. So leave.
While Amanda didn't seem to find this amusing, or she was just thinking about how she was going to spend the next few years in prison. Cosell was charged with contempt in court and given 93 days of jail time.
Ma'am, you are being taken into custody for criminal contempt. Your disruptive and disrespectful behavior disrupted today's proceedings, and you, ma'am, are going to the Wayne County Jail for 93 days for direct criminal contempt.
But after spending what seemed to be a rough 24 hours in the slammer, she came back and literally begged for the judge's forgiveness, which was granted, and the other 92 days were dropped. Some just have to learn the hard way. Freaking out is one thing, but you don't need a lawyer to tell you not to attack a judge. But apparently someone did. Melissa Hardwick, who was already facing domestic violence charges against her husband in Wayne County, Kentucky. There's always a chance someone's innocent, but Hardwick proved that she does indeed have that violent tendency when in court. She snapped. The judge was giving out the sentencing when Hardwick really didn't like what she was hearing.
Miss Hardwick, you will be held in contempt of this court if you become disruptive.
And when she rudely interrupted the judge held her in contempt for 10 days.
Haven't done anything to him.
She will be arrested for contempt of
It
the
doesn't
court.
make any difference.
You will serve 10 days for contempt of court.
But this is what really sent her over the edge. Literally.
Go now.
She jumped over the judge's bench to attack her, but she was no match for the officers there, who tackled her to the ground. The one priceless sight was the judge's reaction, who definitely hadn't seen anything like this before, and seemed to have a moment of genuine what the. Hardwick was as short-sighted as she was violent, as she received 120 days of jail time for the assault, when they could have been 10. They could have been 0 in the first place, so self-control is undeniably important. Now, while attacking a judge is indeed dumb, it's nothing compared to attacking a member of the Navy. But that's what Darla Jackson did in Vista County, California, when she chased down Navy Chief Petty Officer Zach Boab in a fit of road rage, killing him by ramming his motorcycle hard. Darla was so enraged for a little road trouble that she chased Boab for 2 freeways until she collided. In court, you wouldn't think this weeping woman is a cold-blooded killer, as she sobbed, cried, and denied everything.
For the reasons I've stated.
But as we would come to learn, a judge isn't anyone's nanny, and crying in court only makes things worse.
She had every opportunity
to change her mind and not chase my brother across 2 freeways.
As for the judge, he didn't feel that there was enough evidence, sentencing Darla to 6 years for manslaughter. But she was still freaking out to the point where her crying just came off as annoying, especially to the victim's family, who couldn't even look Darla in the eye.
I know a lot of awful things were said about me that made a lot of you believe that I did this on purpose. I'm not that person.
Sometimes it isn't the defendant who freaks out in court, though, but the judge. Such as what happened with Miller versus Rasmussen in Lauren Lake's paternity court. A Wisconsin case made the judge snap.
But that cheering you did? What you cheering? I'm a single mother with nobody that loves me or my child. What you cheering for?
It was all about trying to discover if Mr. Rasmussen was Miss Miller's daughter's father, and apparently he's the perfect dad.
And come day after day and week after week so they can grow visitation to have a relationship with the child.
What involved cheating and lack of trust culminated in the moment where the judge revealed that Mr. Rasmussen unfortunately wasn't the father.
Mr. Rasmussen, you are not the father.
It was Miss Miller's reaction that drove the judge over the edge.
Be respectful.
Sorry. Miss Miller.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve considering the alternative is somebody that don't want nothing to do with you or your child.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve.
Miss Miller seemed happy as opposed to Mr. Rasmussen's devastation, and the judge gave them to her hard, pointing out the fact that Miller is happy that the father is unknown and interested in both of them, and that she'd have to raise the daughter alone.
What you cheering? I'm a single mother with nobody that loves me or my child. What you cheering for?
I'm not.
No, you were. He is over here breaking down because he loves this child so much.
The judge seemed to be on Rasmussen's side, highlighting how perfect of a father he would have been, as he drove 160 miles just to see Miller's daughter and did a lot to have a relationship with her.
I sit here day after day after day with women hoping a man would drive 16 miles to see their baby, much less 160 miles each way.
Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. A judge doesn't always have to yell to destroy a defendant, though, such as what happened with Penelope Soto. This Barbie doll-like defendant was in court for drug possession charges in Miami, Florida, and her actions with the judge definitely seemed to confirm this. Smiling, playing with her hair, and acting very silly, there was a major contrast with the judge's calm demeanor.
I'm serious about it.
You're being very. I can see you're serious, all right.
The judge's main goal was to ask her about her finances and belongings, which she seemed to think was a joke.
All right, how much is your jewelry worth?
It's worth a lot of money.
Like what?
Like Rick Ross.
Huh?
In the end, the judge set her bond at $5,000, which she seemed to think was a joke, as she waved at the judge and left.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
It only got worse from then on, as the judge raised the bond to $10,000, and when she had a certain finger to say about this,
Count one would be 10,000.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Adios.
the judge held her in contempt of court for 30 days of jail time, and all of a sudden, the Barbie doll's silly demeanor was completely gone.
Did you say
Yes,
me?
actually, I
Did you say that?
Yes, sir, I did.
Oh, you did say that?
I'm not
I
gonna
find you in
lie.
direct criminal contempt. 30 days in the county jail.
Apparently, though, Soto only spent 5 days of the 30 and came back and deeply apologized to the judge, who dropped the 30 days and sent her to rehab.